Charles gripped the microphone with trembling hands as the entire store watched him. "Are you really going to sing for leftovers?" Someone yelled from the back. He swallowed hard and thought of Sophia's eyes waiting for him at home. It had all started that morning when he found his 8-year-old daughter drawing a birthday cake with worn-out crayons. "Daddy, did you buy my cake yet?" she asked with that smile that broke his heart. Charles had caressed her brown hair and lied. "Of course, princess. It will be the most beautiful." But the truth was harsher. After paying the rent, electricity, and Sophia's asthma medication, he only had $7 left in his pocket. $7 that weren't enough for even the cheapest cake at the bakery. During his shift as a janitor at Grand Central Market, Charles had seen Patricia, the manager, order a whole tray of cakes that expired that day to be thrown out. Perfect, beautiful cakes that would go straight into the trash just because they were one day past their expiration date. "Ms. Patricia," he had approached humbly, taking off his work cap. "Could I take one of those cakes? It's my daughter's birthday and—" Patricia had interrupted him with a mocking smile. She was a 35-year-old woman who enjoyed the power her position gave her. Charles, don't you know we have policies? We can't give away expired merchandise. Please, they're going to be thrown out anyway. I just need a small one." "Ah, but today we have the talent show to liven up the customers," Patricia had said with malice in her eyes. "If you want those cakes, you'll have to earn them. Can you sing?" And there he was now, on the small makeshift stage in the supermarket, with a cheap microphone in his hands and the gaze of 40 people fixed on him. In the crowd, he saw his co-workers quietly laughing, customers who had left their carts to watch the spectacle, and children pointing at his stained janitor's uniform. "Go, Charles! Sing something romantic!" yelled Mike, another employee, provoking general laughter. Patricia approached the microphone with a hyena's smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, our dear janitor Charles is going to delight us with a song. And if we like it a lot, maybe he'll earn some little cakes that nobody wants anymore." Charles's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but he closed his eyes and thought of Sophia blowing out the candles on a beautiful cake. He took a deep breath and began to sing an old classic ballad his mother used to sing to him as a child. His voice came out broken at first, trembling with nerves, but there was something there. Something that made a couple of people stop laughing and pay attention. Charles sang with his heart, every word loaded with the weight of a father who would do anything for his daughter. How sad it was to say goodbye when we loved each other most. But Patricia was not willing to let the moment become emotional. "Louder, Charles! We can't hear you in the back!" she yelled, interrupting the song. "And move a little, won't you? Give it some rhythm." The crowd laughed again. Some took out their phones to record. Charles forced himself to continue, swaying awkwardly as he sang. He knew he looked ridiculous in his faded blue uniform, his worn work shoes, moving without grace on that makeshift stage. "That's how you do it!" Patricia yelled, applauding exaggeratedly. "But you know what? One song isn't enough for 3 cakes. Do you know any power ballads?" Charles's heart sank. It hadn't been enough. He would have to humiliate himself more. I can sing Eternal Love," he murmured near the microphone. "We can't hear you. Louder." "Eternal Love," Charles shouted, and his voice broke with emotion and humiliation. The laughter intensified. Someone yelled, "He sounds like he's crying." Another added, "He sings like his wife left him." If they only knew, Charles thought. If they only knew that Mary had died when Sophia was 3, that he had been raising his daughter alone all these years, working 2 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, taking her to the doctor every time asthma attacked her in the early mornings. Patricia approached again. "You know what, Charles? You're really entertaining me. How about you do some dancing too? Our customers are having so much fun." Charles looked out at the crowd. It had grown. More people had gathered, drawn by the spectacle of the janitor making a fool of himself. He saw employees from other stores in the shopping mall who had come to laugh. He saw Mrs. Davis, a customer who greeted him every day, now laughing with the others. "Please, Ms. Patricia," he whispered. "I've already sung 2 songs. I just need a small cake for Sophia." "Sophia? Your daughter?" Patricia spoke into the microphone so everyone could hear. "How sweet. He's singing for his little girl's birthday. Come on, Charles, sing happy birthday to you as if she were here." That was the last straw. Involving Sophia in this public humiliation was too much. But when Charles saw the tray of perfect cakes next to the trash, when he imagined arriving home empty-handed, when he thought of Sophia's little face waiting for her birthday surprise. He closed his eyes and began to sing, "Happy Birthday to You," with all the tenderness in his heart. "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you." His voice completely broke on that line. The tears he had been holding back began to roll down his cheeks, and he no longer cared. The crowd had grown even more, some recording videos, others openly laughing at seeing the janitor cry. Patricia was enjoying every second. Oh, how emotional. But you know what, Charles? I think we need a little more of a show. Why don't you tell us why you want those cakes so much? Doesn't your daughter have a mom to buy her a decent cake? The silence that followed was brutal. Charles felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. The crowd stopped laughing, waiting for his answer. Some people looked uncomfortable now, realizing this had gone too far. My wife died," Charles managed to say in a barely audible voice. 5 years ago. Sophia only has me." "Oh, what drama!" exclaimed Patricia without a shred of genuine compassion. "Well then I guess you need these cakes more than ever. Come on, sing one more, but this time dedicate it to your deceased wife. Something really sad to make us all emotional." That was the limit. Charles felt something break inside him. He had endured poverty. He had worked 3 jobs simultaneously. He had taken Sophia to the hospital in ambulances he couldn't afford. He had slept in hospital chairs while she struggled with asthma attacks. He had cried silently in the bathroom so she would never see him broken. But this was destroying the last bit of dignity he had left. He looked at the tray of cakes. 3 beautiful cakes, decorated with cream flowers, that in an hour would be in the dumpster. He looked at Patricia, who smiled cruelly, awaiting his next humiliation. He looked at the crowd, some laughing, others clearly uncomfortable, but doing nothing to stop this grotesque spectacle. And then he thought of Sophia, of her little face when he got home, of how he would pretend nothing was wrong when he showed up without a cake, of how she would say, "It doesn't matter, Daddy, we can celebrate another way," with that maturity no 8-year-old should have, of how she would stay awake that night, wondering why other children had parties with cakes and balloons while she had to settle for her father's broken promises. "Well, Charles," Patricia pressed, "are you going to sing something for your wife, or are we going to stand here all afternoon?" Charles closed his eyes, felt the tears streaming down his face, and began to sing "Eternal Love" again. But this time something was different. This time he was truly singing for Mary, remembering her smile, the way she hugged him when he came home tired from work, how she told him everything would be okay when Sophia was born premature and struggled to breathe in the incubator. His voice, despite being broken by emotion, began to sound different, purer, more real. The genuine pain in every note made some people in the crowd stop smiling. An elderly lady put her hand to her chest. A man took off his hat in a gesture of respect. But when Charles reached the chorus, "Eternal and unforgettable love, sooner or later I'll be with you," a deep, clear voice joined his from the back of the crowd. The entire supermarket turned. An older man, about 70, with silver hair and dressed in a simple but elegant sweater, walked slowly towards the stage, singing along with Charles. His voice was professional, trained, and harmonized perfectly with Charles's. The crowd parted to let him pass. There was something in this man's presence that commanded immediate respect. When he reached the stage, he put a hand on Charles's shoulder and finished the song with him. The silence that followed was absolute. The older man naturally took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. I am Robert Mendoza, and for 40 years I produced albums for RCA Victor and Sony Music. I worked with Frank Sinatra, Whitney Houston, and many other artists you know and love." A murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. Some recognized the name immediately. Patricia paled, realizing the magnitude of what she had just witnessed. "I came here today to do some simple shopping," Don Robert continued, "but instead I found something I hadn't heard in years. A voice with soul, a voice that isn't singing for fame or money, but for pure love." He addressed Charles directly, who was still paralyzed on stage. "Son, in all my years in the industry, I've heard thousands of technically perfect singers who conveyed nothing to me. And today, I heard a man sing from the most broken heart and found more genuine talent than in years of auditions." Patricia tried to intervene. "Mr. Mendoza, I didn't know you. You were humiliating an artist." Don Robert cut her off firmly. "And not just any artist. This man has a gift that you cannot recognize because you are too busy amusing yourselves with someone else's suffering. He addressed Charles again. What's your name, son? Charles. Charles Mendoza, sir. Mendoza? Curious, we share a last name. Tell me, Charles, would you like to come to my studio tomorrow? I'd like to record some songs with you. I think there are people who need to hear what you have to say. Charles couldn't believe what he was hearing. Are you serious? Completely serious. Here's my card. Don Robert took a golden card from his pocket. And now, it seems to me that this man has more than earned some cakes. Patricia stammered, completely out of her element. Of course, Mr. Mendoza. Charles can take all the cakes he wants. Right, Charles? We always knew you had talent. But Don Robert raised his hand. No, ma'am, not all the cakes. Just one, which is what he asked for from the beginning for his daughter. This man has dignity, something some people here need to learn. Charles chose the most beautiful cake from the tray, one decorated with pink roses that he knew Sophia would love. His hands trembled as he held it. Charles, Don Robert said quietly, I want you to know something. Your wife would be proud of the father you are, and your daughter will be proud of the man you are going to become. The crowd, which minutes before had been laughing, now genuinely applauded. Some approached Charles to apologize. Mrs. Davis, with tears in her eyes, said, Charles, forgive me. I didn't know. I always thought you were a good man, but I never imagined how strong you were. Patricia, desperate to save her image, tried to approach Don Robert. Mr. Mendoza, could we take a picture? It would be an honor for our establishment. Don Robert looked at her coldly. Ma'am, you just lost the opportunity to say you discovered a star in your own store. Instead, you will be remembered as the person who almost destroyed the dream of a loving father. As Charles walked towards the exit, carrying the cake as if it were the most valuable treasure in the world, Don Robert called out, Charles, don't forget, tomorrow at 10 at my studio, and bring pictures of Sophia. I want to meet the little girl who inspired the most beautiful performance I've heard in years. That night, when Charles arrived at his small apartment, Sophia screamed with joy when she saw the cake. Daddy, it's the most beautiful in the world. How did you know I wanted one with pink flowers? Charles hugged her tightly, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling for the first time in years as if he had really done something right. Because princesses deserve cakes with pink flowers, he whispered. As Sophia blew out the 8 candles, Charles closed his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't make a wish for himself. He just gave thanks. He gave thanks for his daughter, for Mary's memory, for the humiliation that had turned into a blessing, and for Don Robert, who had seen something in him that he didn't even know existed. The next day, when Charles arrived at the recording studio, he was wearing his best suit, the same one he had worn to Mary's funeral, and in his pocket, a photo of Sophia blowing out the candles on the cake he had sung to get. Because sometimes, he thought, miracles come disguised as the worst humiliations, and angels appear when you least expect them.